Was there a single moment for you before you started this career when you realized you could go into it?
Honestly, it was when I was a student here at UT. I was still trying to figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up. My dad was a programmer, and so I was like, maybe I want to do computer science like my dad. And I just kind of ended up venturing down this path where I realized there was broadcasting, is what it was called back then. And I was like, I've always loved the news. I watched the news every day before school. It's always on at my house. And I was like, I didn't even think that was something I could do one day. So literally being here at UT, just seeing what my options were, opened that door. And then once I went through it, I knew that it was it.
So you talk about being in the news. Did you want to be a broadcast journalist before meteorology?
Yes. So that was my first and foremost goal. I wanted to be an anchor reporter. I'm a nosy person, which makes for a great reporter, right? You got to be willing to kind of get in and ask the questions and learn about things, be like a sponge. So that all interested me, and I loved the idea of getting out and telling the stories that impact people. So that is first and foremost why I wanted to become a journalist. And then the evolution into weather was, well, it's the one story that impacts everybody. And I grew up here. I was very familiar with the weather. I always loved math and science as a kid as well. And again, I didn't realize that was something that I could pursue. So I got a second degree online from Mississippi State in meteorology. And so that's where I was able to kind of take that up a level and combine journalism and weather.
And WVLT, you were there for, what, 20 years?
Roughly, yeah. So basically I interned at VLT fall and spring of my senior year. So I've actually known folks there for 21 years now. They helped me get my first job at our sister station in Hazard, Kentucky, WYMT. I worked there for 2 years, and then I came back home to Knoxville, and I was basically back at WVLT for 17 and a half years by the time it was all said and done.
And a lot of people might think that meteorology is just being in the studio.
No.
I mean, what would you say to that when people tell you that?
So a lot of folks, yeah, they think we walk in and we just go on camera and that's it. I'm like, no, I would go in at 2:30 every morning and I would work on my forecast. I would then build the graphics that helped me tell that story. So I think that's where my dad's computer science background helped me out. And then I would actually present it on TV. So then there's my broadcast background at UT coming into play every single day. And that's where it was taking something more complicated like a forecast and making it make sense to people. How does it actually affect folks? That's the story. So that's what every day was like. And then it was hours on air of how do I make it different? How do I tell the story slightly different from 1 hour to the next, and that kind of evolution. But then also how do I tell it on social media and through an app and through a website? So there's multifaceted multimedia reporting involved in it every day.
And getting up that early in the morning, I mean, you did that for so long.
Yeah.
Did you ever get sick of it?
Yes, and that's why I changed careers. So when I first became the chief meteorologist in April 2019, I was already on mornings, and I wanted to stay on mornings because in TV, it's kind of either a front end of the day or the back end of the day. It was either 2:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. or 2:30 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. And with kids that were little at the time, mornings were perfect for me. They're naturally early risers, so it was very easy to get up early and go to bed early. Well, the older my kids got, the harder that was getting, the more I was missing out on with their sports, their activities. So that's where it kind of became that push of I either need to change careers or I need to change hours, and the changing hours wasn't really an option, so change careers.
I'm sure it's nice not having to wake up at 1 a.m. anymore.
Yeah, no, deleting that 1:30 alarm was like the highlight of my summer.
Do you think it takes a certain type of person to do this job?
Yes and no. I mean, I think anybody who sets their mind to it can do it, right? You just gotta set that bar for yourself. How hard do I want to work? How much do I want this? You've got to be passionate about news or weather to stay in an industry that does come with a lot of demands. But let's say there's a lot of careers like that. Nurses, teachers, right? There's a lot of demands that come from their job. So you just have to be passionate about it. And if you're not, then maybe look at it differently. Is there something I should do differently? Is it the location I am? Do I need to be closer to family? What would make me a happier person, which would make me a better employee? And ultimately, you'd be happier in your career too.
And there are some people who refer to meteorologists on TV as like weather girls, even female meteorologists. Did that ever bug you?
Yes and no. I mean, most of the time they have pure intentions, right? They're not trying to be derogatory. I say most of the time. Obviously, there are the special occasions. But weather girl also comes from a time period where they often said weather man, right? So that's when most people weren't meteorologists. And people don't realize some of the folks that they've been watching on the news for decades in their hometown, wherever that may be, there might be somebody there who's not actually a degreed meteorologist. But they just call them that because they've been doing it so long. So there is actually still some of those remnants that linger, but nowadays you have to have a degree in meteorology to forecast the weather on TV in most TV markets in this country. So it's a threshold of I've learned how to forecast, I've learned how to convey this information. So you hope to kind of set that bar there alone with that degree.
And I know you talked a little bit about kind of making stuff to go on air. People might think you're just reading off a screen.
Nope. Yeah.
Yeah. What kind of goes into that?
So that's actually an evolution in and of itself too. I mean, being able to portray information on a graphic. How do I make this visually interesting? How do I make it appealing to the eye? How do I make it easy for somebody to find themselves on a map every single day? So I had a very consistent map style for our team. I want people to be able to look at the middle of their TV and they see Knoxville and they know if they're looking for Sevierville, it's just to the right on their screen. Make it very easy for people to follow. So that consistency also helps them not get distracted by what you're saying. Because if they're spending a minute going, where am I on the map? They've lost important information. So that's why the graphics are so important. And then it helps you remember what you got to say, right? They helped me tell the story. And when I am looking at the camera, I see what people see at home. I see the graphics I built. So it helps kind of keep me, it's more like a PowerPoint presentation at that point, right? It helps me keep me on track, my outline of what I wanted to talk about.
How important do you think weather is in a newscast?
Honestly, it's the number one reason people watch news. Every journalist will cover weather, whether it be damage from a tornado, something like a hurricane that impacts an entire region and has lingering effects for months and even years. That's all news. So weather is still the most important thing that affects people every single day, but luckily sometimes it can just be like, hey, don't forget your umbrella. And then there's things that are more urgent. This is when lives and property are at risk, use caution, and then of course it becomes the news story as well. This is where unfortunately damage has occurred and what's happening so that we can then help people as journalists know what's going on, how it's affecting lives, how it's affecting the people in a community.
I know you came to this school and you're kind of trying to build the meteorology program here, and we're so happy to have you. Do you think that meteorology is kind of underestimated sometimes?
Oh, absolutely. And I do think we live in a time where all journalists, meteorologists included, are under some extra scrutiny. You want to make sure you're always performing at that same ethical level without any sort of bias. And that goes with weather. People think there's some sort of bias towards climate changes and things like that. And I'm like, no, our job is just to tell you what's going on with the weather and how it's going to affect you. Climate and weather are two different things. So trying to help with battle the misinformation applies to everyone in TV news, weather, all broadcasting, radio, newspapers as well. So that's kind of that constant battle. And that's why it's so important that we are grooming folks in a college like journalism to know how to be ethical and to be making sure that they are using journalism to the highest level that it can be performed. And then meteorology is the same. You're just taking some science and applying it into that journalistic avenue.
And you're a teacher now.
Yeah.
So what are you hoping to teach your students?
Really just to set their own bar. I say that because obviously everybody performs a little different. We can't all be exactly the same. Otherwise TV, print, radio would be boring. Right? So we can't all just fit into one mold. We do have to bring our own spin to it, our own personality, our own style. So I hope to help them find theirs, right? Here's the bar on where we set it for being a good journalist and being ethical and being accurate. Now, how can you take that and evolve it? Maybe it's certain types of stories you're really interested in that you really want to focus on. Maybe you want to focus on more like weather. You want to make that the focus of your career. So then you can go down that avenue as long as you've set that standard for yourself.
And kind of just introducing the topic of meteorology into our program too.
Yeah, and that's it, exactly. I mean, there's not a meteorology major at UT, hopefully one day, but maybe not, we'll see. It doesn't matter though. Again, weather's something that everybody in journalism has to cover. So if I can help them be prepared to safely cover weather, right? We don't want anybody putting themselves in an unsafe situation, to accurately cover a weather event. Who do you talk to? What are the agencies you need to reach out to? And then keep up with what will be the evolution post-weather event. You know, you don't have a tornado hit, there's damage, they've confirmed it's a tornado, and then you never go back. Right? As a journalist, you've got to keep up with, all right, well, how long does it take to rebuild? How is this community evolving post-damage? So that is where hopefully helping them understand that weather will impact news all the time. So how do you safely and accurately cover it?
And finally, this is just a bonus question. You've had such a long, successful career. Do you have like a favorite part about it, a favorite moment?
I would say just my favorite part is the fact that I got to know my community. And that's what makes anybody a good journalist or meteorologist. You have to be embedded in your community. You have to care about these people as if they are your own family, which in my case, it is also my family that's here in East Tennessee, but it doesn't matter. I mean, these are your friends, your family, your neighbors that you are talking to and that you are informing. And the more you care about your community, then the better journalist you'll be, because you're setting that bar. I want to take care of grandma down the street. I want to take care of every single person, no matter who they are, no matter what they look like, no matter their background. That is your job as a journalist.
So I think that's why local journalists matter.
Yes. Yeah, if you're not in that neighborhood, if you don't know who these people are, if you don't know the actual impact of funding change, then how are you going to tell the story? You can't just say, this funding is lost, this program's cut. Who's affected by that? And what are the implications of that trickle down to generations even? You've got to know that avenue to travel, and being in the community will take you down that right path.